like to say a big thank you to everyone who joined us over at Twitch last night, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time until around 11:15 Eastern Time. We were playing a game called Middle-earth: Shadow of War, and while we are doing that, we are also discussing all of the hot-button issues of the day. One of the great things about this particular game is no matter what strategy you lay out, there's always something that happens that changes it and it forces you to adapt. Now, last night we had laid out a strategy of returning to a place called Minas Morgul and shutting down 5 outposts, and we were able to do that. But that only accounted for the first hour or so of the night, hour and 15 minutes. The rest of the night, what we had planned to do, everything just went haywire. And, of course, like always, we had to adapt. We eventually confronted the right-hand man of the Witch King and were able to defeat him, but that took a solid 30 minutes at least. So, and while we're doing this, once again, people are asking questions, people are chatting, people are getting involved, and that's really the direction I think I want to go in the future, because I think it is the future. Doing videos like we're doing them now, I think was the past, and it allows YouTube way too much latitude, and any other platform, way too much latitude to review the content and then decide whether they want it to be seen or not. Whereas with live interaction, that's much more difficult to do. So they can always go back and maybe make that video not available, but to have somebody sitting there continually watching live streams is very, very different than having people review content. So anyway, just wanted to share a quick clip of last night.
Are you supposed to protect her? Or are you supposed to?
Really had no idea what I was doing at this point. Just was fighting for my life. And as you can see over to the right, all of the people commenting, this is me up here.
Okay, so he can be hit.
So as you can see, it is non-stop action. And once again, for the 9th straight night, the numbers continue to go up and up and up and up. The average viewers went down by only 2, but that was because I actually started the night earlier than I said I was going to, and people weren't aware I was there, and of course that kills the average. Had I not done that, the average would have gone up, but unique viewers up 25%, unique chatters up almost 40%, and this is happening every single night. So thank you everyone who's been there. Please join us. I will of course give you the link down in the description where you can find us at Twitch. Now, also, some of you might have seen earlier today, I created a new custom design mask for the Q crowd, where we go one, we go all. And this is something I think is going to come back. And it's not a topic that I've gotten much into, because I've just not been really sure about it. I've seen evidence both ways. But with a capitalist society, everyone deserves to be served, correct? So, if there's a demand out there, we are going to fill it, because as we know, capitalism is the answer to everything. The making of money is the answer to everything. Now, here it is, of course, at Teespring, where you can get it. And always, like I say, ignore this thing where it says the countdown. That's just their way of trying to get you to buy quickly. All of the masks are still always available, and as you can see, just moving the cursor off the screen will get you to try to come back and click that off. So anyway, I don't think anywhere on Teespring or anywhere else you will find a more diverse group of masks, more of a variety. And this is mask number 37 that we have designed, and that goes back to the 1st of July, so today being the 15th, so in about 6 weeks. Now, also, many of you know that I am a musician and play guitar and sing. I haven't done a lot of that lately. It's actually how my channel began many, many, many years ago. It was just me sitting on my couch playing guitar, and I used it as a technique to remember songs. I figured, well, If I figure the song out and then I record and film myself playing it, and then I upload it to YouTube, no matter what, I can always go back to YouTube and look at that. If I forget the song in the future, it'll always be there. So anyone who wants to see me personally or enjoy the music, there's 70, I think, different covers and original songs. This is Blessed Assurance, an old gospel hymn, and me sitting on the couch playing the guitar. But it kind of goes with today's video topic about talents and about how we are supposed to develop our talents, and a story from the Bible called the Parable of the Talents. Now, believe it or not, this actually has something to do with what's going on in the world right now. And it's something a group of people that are participating in cancel culture aren't seeing. They aren't seeing it. They're literally contradicting themselves in what they say they believe, but then in what they do in real life. Now, for those of you who are unaware with what the parable of the talents said, is there was a man who had an estate, and he left his wealth with 3 servants and told them to grow it while he was gone. And he took his journey and came back, and 2 of them had, and they were rewarded. But one person, for fear of losing, decided to bury his talent and was then cast into outer darkness. And that's what the Bible says. Now, what does that have to do with what's going on in the real world with cancel culture? Well, recently we've seen this thing where there are a group of people trying to boycott everything to do with Fox, anybody who advertises on Fox. And this most recent one is Sandals Resorts on Sean Hannity. Now, this isn't about me endorsing Sean Hannity or not endorsing Sean Hannity. This is about a comment that was made on Twitter that gives up the game. Now, I'm not going to get into the details, but basically they just attacked Sandals. It's this very first one here. Jonathan Jewell. Quote, I will hashtag boycott Sandals now until the end of my life. And unlike Hannity viewers, I still have decades of purchasing power left. Wait a minute. Hold on. Back the truck up. I thought the leftists didn't like capitalism. This guy is threatening the use of, or the lack of use, of future capitalistic purchasing power. He's threatening Sandals with his money and the withholding of it. The withholding of profit. They're using profit motive to get their way. The socialists are. Think about that for a minute. Now, this is the perfect example of the difference between Washington, D.C., quote-unquote socialism, and social democracy in Venezuela. See, they try to conflate the two things as the same, and they're not. What goes on in Washington, D.C. requires the existence of capitalism. It requires it. You absolutely have to have the big, evil, horrible corporations making a bunch of money and earning a bunch of profit, first of all, so that you have somebody to demonize. And then you have to take the money away from them in sufficient enough quantity so that you can redistribute it to people who don't want to work, who want to sit on their ass and do nothing, and buy votes. That's what the parentheses D does. That is not what happens in Venezuela. Social democracy is a completely different thing. In fact, there's a story, I wish I would have remembered to bring it up, about how Venezuelans, and it's from the AP, and I'll find the link to it, first pinned comment, I will put it down there, that talks about the Venezuelans that are getting on these little rubber rings like you would float on the pool in, but kind of the bigger heavy-duty ones, and going out in groups because they don't have boats, and fishing for a living. And it talks about how they've got to, take spare patches in case they get a hole in one of the inner tube, the big inner tube rings, and they go out to sea in these floats, basically in groups, 5 or 6 of them, and they will fish and bring in their catch and then row back against the current to shore and then usually walk a mile or two to their home just to feed their families. Now, does that sound like a group of people that are sitting around waiting for the government to do something for them? Just the idea that you would have to go out and make it for yourself. I don't think we would ever see the Bless Your Heart movement ever consider doing anything for themselves. They have to sit and wait on their food stamps. They have to sit and wait on their welfare checks. They have to sit and wait on all of their free health care and all the other free nonsense. But when it comes to protesting, all of a sudden, they need capitalism. Because without capitalism, their threats would be toothless. Oops. Somebody goofed. Somebody forgot to give them the memo. Hey, you can't use capitalism and rely on capitalism for your cancel culture unless you're going to decry socialism. And they won't. And they never will. Because they'll never put the two things together. They'll never put the two things together. They see something socially they don't like. They use capitalism to change it. And without capitalism, what would they do? The biggest ringing endorsement of capitalism that doesn't contradict social democracy in Venezuela. Because that's not how they finance their country. They don't finance their country by taxing the rich. They finance their country by saying the oil in the ground, the gold in the ground, all of our mineral wealth doesn't belong to corporations. It belongs to the people. So we're going to, of course, pay people to bring it out of the ground, a fair and decent wage, and then we're going to take it to the world market. We're going to sell it on the world market, and then we're going to use that revenue to benefit everybody, just like they do in evil Alaska. Every resident of Alaska gets a check every year from the government, from the sale of oil. I guess somebody should tell Sarah Palin that she's an evil, terrible, horrible socialist, or whoever the governor is now of Alaska, for doing that. Because it's the exact same thing. This is where they conflate two things that are not alike, and in doing so make themselves out to be the biggest hypocrites in the world. So, anyway, please join us over at Twitch. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot more relaxed. We can take the gloves off. We can talk about whatever we want to talk about. And we've proved it night after night after night after night. So, hope to see you there. God bless. Have a great week. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.